Hello and welcome to Code Sexo channel. In today's tutorial, we'll be having a little discussion about the tags section and div. Okay, well, we'll not exactly be coding in this tag, just discussing the reason why you should either choose a section or a div, depending on the circumstances you're coding. Okay. Um, Before the advent of HTML5, you should be aware that the div was widely used. And when I mean widely used, it was like the go-to for any sectioning whatsoever in HTML. In fact, if you looked at the source code of most or if not all websites, you'll see the nesting of divs upon divs upon divs upon divs. To the extent they coined the word for it called divitis. Well, it was not fun. The only thing that was used to identify, or let's say make these divs distinct, was to slap on the ID attributes. So for instance, if we had a section featuring, let's say, main news, would have div ID main news. So this was not just making sense, it was making code bases very hard to read, not semantic at all. And of course, we knew there had to be a change, and HTML5 came up with a change. Okay, HTML5 came up with more semantic tags that took away a lot of the confusion um, and the code base soup that Div was all about. It made coders code with more meaning. Um, it now makes spiders, web crawlers to consume content more properly. So there are many, uh, there were quite a number of tags that came on board that substituted the use for div. Okay, but there's the article tag, there is the aside tag. There are a few like that. But in particular, the section tag seems to be the most direct replacement for the div. Okay. Um, so what's the div tag and what's the section tag? Okay. Then and now the div tag is just used to create a division or to mark up a division of a website, just a division. So it's like a general purpose division, and it's almost meaningless, but not just it's almost meaningless, but we will just say it's not entirely meaningless. Okay, it just groups things together and it groups things together and separates them from other content. Okay, for section is obviously a more semantic tag, and it's used to to mark distinct segments of a web page. Okay, like recognizable segments of a web page is what section is used for. So I have a few examples to run us through, so that when you're coding and you encounter, there's sometimes you just have a pause and you have a think, should I use a section I div here? This following walkthroughs make would simplify the process for you. Okay, let me go. So let's go to I have a website, a Yahoo Finance website. Okay, looking at this website now, as you can see to the right hand side, this will probably be their site tag. And what does their site tag do? Their site tag will, it just marks up tangential sections of a website. So this, the quote lookup, this is not like the main thing. This is like the sidebar, like the tangential part of the website. Okay. Now looking at other parts of the code of the website, I can see latest here. Latest here to me looks like a prime candidate for a section tag. Okay. I look at this no frills, low blood sales, miss forecast. So this also looks like a section. This should look like a section of, let's say, featured, a section with the ID of, let's say, featured or main, um, while this is also a section, multi-port operation. So this can be more, maybe section, more news or something like that. Okay. So if you scroll, this is another section here. Okay. Now, investment ideas, this is another section here, an obvious section. Okay, so a section of investment ideas. Then if we come here, this is a section of more news. If we scroll, okay, I think that's that. I can scroll to the end. Okay, so let me just go to the end here. So if we go to, let's say, feedback. Now I want to give you an example of where we can use a div. You can think of using a div when you've thought of other um, block level tags and no other one fits. Okay, like the article tag does not fit, the section tag does not fit your requirement, the figure tag does not fit your requirement, the paragraph tag does not fit. Like the div is like the last resort. It's like the least thematic of all block level tags. So you can just think of it as like a fallback, basically. Okay, like, oh, the section tag does not apply here, the other tags do not apply here, then you fall back to div. So it's just like your last resort. So when you come here, for instance, here you have a form telling you enter your idea, blah blah blah. Now this section here, where you have your second ranked and votes, would likely be a div, not a section. This may be a section holding a form. How is this important to you? Not at all important. This could be a field set, but this could be a div because it can group something, it can group elements for maybe some form of styling. Maybe you want to just add a little style that will bind some elements together. You can think of a div, okay. But using a section for this would be overkill. Okay, if you come to this app I'm building, um, if we roll this, we saw the dice rolling. Now, the div tag would work well for these dice we created because if you look at the sides, you can, like when you want to create elements like this you want to create elements that that are not conventional. Okay, like we created this dice here. You would hardly have no reason to create dice when creating a normal web page. Okay, so the way you want to create things like this, you would find yourself needing some more elements that are bound together. Okay, because if you look at the source code for this here, you can see that we have our div. Don't mind, this is React. Okay, we have our div for the die, we have our div for the side one, for all the sides of the dice, and we even have for the inners and the outers, which are like which are containers for the stylings of the dots on the dice. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of divs going on in here, and it will not make any sense if you're having to slap in some sections within this code. That would make no sense. So this is where you can you can find good use of the div. Also, when you have to use these pseudo classes before and after, okay, and you have to use it several times when creating something, you find you most likely you'd have to use divs for it. Okay, let's look at another example here. Now there's this website that created a swatch book. Okay, now this may be a section, but the code itself to build something like this, like swatch one, like these swatches, you would know that you would need divs to run it. Okay, so to cut the long story short, okay, divs are just they're just they don't they're like they fall back to they're like the fallback of section. Okay, like when section is not appropriate and other block level tags are not appropriate, you can think of div. Okay, but you think of sections where you just have very distinguishable parts of your websites. You can think of a newspaper. You know, you have your spot. There may be a sports section on the front page. There may be a news section. There may be a gossip section. There may be an entertainment section. You know, so that's how you think of sections, like what is distinguishable here. It used to be div before, okay, but it's no longer div. So you think of div, you relegate div totally to very, like very less semantic action you want to perform while coding. So thank you for sticking around.